Your doing what you've done has caused what's happened. There's no passing the buck. Maybe the school system had a portion of responsibility in this as well, but like, you can't tell me that this wasn't because primarily of a total lack of responsibility. Okay, me too. Bye. Yeah, this is gonna be a video about the whole. Uh, it's gonna be a combination of subjects. The first subject I'm gonna talk about is the new emergence of chimera human pig chimeras that has become admitted, at least in National Geographic. I mean, let's face it, that technology has been around for probably over a decade, if not 2 decades, like 20 years. I mean, whatever they tell you publicly, you can be guaranteed that they're doing stuff under the table in the black projects that's way more out of the norm of what we can handle psychologically in our society. So you can be damn sure that there are much more sinister and crazy seeming things than just chimeras, whatever pig human hybrids for organ transplant harvesting. I mean, let's face it, the immorality of this is undeniable, but people uh, will unthinkingly just assume that this is the norm and that we have to go along with this because it's unstoppable. And that's an argument that I heard from somebody on Facebook that that this is an unstoppable thing, that they will do what they're doing regardless. And I mean, this is the same kind of argument you could say essentially that people are always going to be committing crimes, that you may as well uh, not try to create laws preventing people from doing criminal acts. I mean, it's one of those things as a practice and precedent throughout history, we've had the ability to create laws to prevent people from doing certain things. And I think the sad thing will be for this to be compared to something like uh, abortion or something, claiming that the lives that will be generated, produced from this process will not have a soul, which is an arbitrary, at that point, designation that it doesn't have a soul because it wasn't produced through a vaginal canal, so therefore, blah, blah, blah. I mean, really, it just bespeaks the general inclination of humanity to show inhumanity towards other life or life in general. And it doesn't, just because it's an inevitability, does not mean that this is something that we can't have a debate on at the very least and actually have a discussion about. It used to be that that was what would occur when something like this would happen. We would have a public discussion or debate about the issue, and at the very least, a conversation that gets the whole idea out in the public sphere so we can really even like process this. I mean, if people aren't even aware of it, that's a problem. But even worse is people being aware of it and not talking about it, but having it stewing in the back of their mind, and then it's just this thing that we're just doing without any thought. And then, of course, the next thing comes along, and it's post-birth abortions because hey, it's not alive and it's not a person, so it doesn't really deserve or require our respect as a life form. So shit, it's not a person, doesn't have rights. Let's abort the baby after 3 months of its existence on planet Earth outside of the womb. Um, that doesn't seem reasonable or humane to me whatsoever. And for people who are watching that think that that's acceptable, I think you have a lot to learn in terms of ethics and in terms of just general humanity. Like, what does that word even mean? Because it doesn't sound like you're very humane or human at that point. You don't really seem to be interested in or caring about the lives of anything or anyone but yourself at that point, which, given our culture, is a pretty normal thing, I guess. But one of the most profound quotes from a modern day sage named Jiddu Krishnamurti is that it is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Again, that is, it is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And more, there's this intent to sort of force people into an acceptance of this society, which it doesn't require much looking or much analysis or attention to realize that this is a profoundly sick society that we're living in. It really isn't that hard to see. It's actually pretty easy to see. Uh, But that being said, the next thing is essentially the idea of uh, that it's offensive to call breastfeeding natural. Now, this is just and I've talked about this subject for a long time, at least a decade or so, which is that we have been waging war against nature. Humanity has been waging war against nature for really as long as civilization has been in existence. And this war against nature manifests itself in a variety of ways. But the as modernity has developed and we've come into the 21st century, the main way that it is conducted is essentially to deny the the fundamental normalcy of nature, that we are natural beings. The more we try to resist that, the more problems we're going to have to end up facing in the long run. I mean, to try to create a world that is so artificial, that is so full of artificial ingredients, as it were, it's really asking for chronic illnesses and mental illnesses and just a complex of illnesses. And it's obvious based on the statistics of depression and anxiety to obesity and cancer and just all the plethora of illnesses brought about by pharmaceutical. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of the problems that we face in modern times. And the primary reason behind all of this, the cause, the real fundamental reason, is because we have been fighting against nature, that we want to essentially defeat nature with our own artifice, with our own creative abilities. But this is in a total this is out of taste. This is like a perversion. The best thing that we can do really is to be creative with nature. And so what we're trying to do is create our own thing separate from nature, totally ignoring the fact that we are nature. We are it. So it's like a rebellious teenager that doesn't want to behave like their parents, for not realizing that their parents also rebelled when they were their age. So you're just following in line with the same old cycle of sort of stupidity, that the insanity of the human condition, which is to repeat the past over and over and over again without learning a damn thing. And so what we want to do is we want to try to fight against nature as much as we can and say that it's unnatural to be natural. I mean, how twisted and bizarre can you get? So that at this point, it's offensive to be and to aspire to a natural form of existence, be that in gender roles or be that in behavior. It's irrelevant. The fact of the matter is, it is something to be feared, something to be avoided. Nature is our enemy, and we need to thwart nature with every effort. And the more educated you are, the better educated you are, the more likely you are to be indoctrinated with this philosophy of anti-nature. And this is a problematic thing because now the educated ones are the ones that are in control, and the ones who are uneducated, the ones who haven't been through the indoctrination system, are essentially the ones touting this natural paradigm, and they're looked at as nuts. Meanwhile, it's the people who are indoctrinated that are sick and need to be purified, not in a negative sense. I mean, purified in the sense of therapy. Those people need some kind of therapy because you need to have these artificial constructs broken down and really explained as to how and why these are problematic. Otherwise, the people who are well educated will simply perpetuate this the insanity of this paradigm of destroying or conquering nature, despite the fact that it is an integral part of who and what you are. To try to deny that is, in and of itself, a very sick and problematic mindset that can really only create problems, namely chimeras and genetically modified organisms, patenting life, and the inevitable emergence of a plutocracy and even a form of plutocratic tyranny wherein the experts have full control over your life to a T. And you can, this is not anything new. And this kind of a dystopia has been projected into the future by many futurists. And it's only becoming more and more clear as the decades unfold that this is exactly the kind of world that we're going to be looking at in a relatively short period of time. My generation is going to see it. My generation is going to see a brave new world. We're already witnessing the fundamentals be established. An artificial womb, a petri dish baby, the idea of post-birth abortions, and the idea of genetic manipulation and genetically modified organisms, not just plants, but actual living beings being modified with human DNA. This is unprecedented. And the fact that it's being heralded as a good and joyous occasion without any real debate about it is, I think, a fundamental problem that can only be solved by people actually engaging in some kind of real conversation about it. Um, and that goes in alignment with the whole idea of nature and being against nature. We need to realize that it's important for us to become in harmony with nature instead of fighting against it and seeing it as an enemy or seeing it as something to be offended by, regardless of what it's about, whether it's breastfeeding or whether it is simply earthing and being in nature and being one with nature. I think a lot of these problems that we face with gender have mostly to do with urban environments because people are so tightly packed and so conditioned to human interaction and desensitized to it that they don't realize how profoundly important human interaction is and how profoundly that affects not only individuals in the population but the children, the youth in a population. And all we're going to see, I think, in the future is more and more confused and more psychologically damaged individuals coming out of urban and even suburban environments because of this problem. So, I mean, this is a very serious issue, and I would really like feedback on this potentially. If people want to, leave comments or what have you, I'm going to be sharing this video, and I hope you do the same because I think this is an important issue. So, love and appreciation, everybody, and get out there and change the world. Peace. Please, come in. What's with the laptop? What's with the laptop? Oh. Do you really think that you should be playing Minecraft? What's with the laptop? Oh shit, that's top. Wait a minute. What's with the laptop? Oh. Do you really think that you should be playing Minecraft? Was that your school? What's with the laptop? Oh shit, that's. Was that your school? What's with the laptop? Oh shit, that's. Why is... Was that your school? What's with the laptop? Oh shit, that's. Why is... Was that your school? What's with the laptop? Oh shit, that's. What, the thing up there? I decked it out? I know. Why is this doing... I don't know how to stop the streaming. No, stop. I don't want it to be streaming. That's right, I gotta go to OBS.